Hi. For today's Lunch Alert video, I thought I'd rebut and add to Bill Clinton's biography of Hillary that he gave at the convention last night. As Maureen Dowd said, it was an airbrushed biography, and I'd like to supply a few things that were missing. Bill talks at length about Hillary's idealistic work in college and law school, but he omits that she was defending the Black Panthers, who killed security guards. They were on trial in New Haven. She monitored the trial while she was in law school to find evidence that could be grounds for reversal in the event they were convicted. And that summer, she went to work at the Truhaft law firm in California, headed by Truhaft, who was the head of the California Communist Party. And it's involved in that she became involved with Saul Alinsky, who became something of a mentor for the rest of her life. Then he writes, or he says, that she went off to Massachusetts and I went to Arkansas, and that eventually Hillary followed her heart to join him in Arkansas. He omits that she went to work for the Whitewater Committee, the Watergate Committee, and was fired from that job for taking home evidence and hiding documents that they needed in the impeachment inquiry. Then she took the D.C. bar exam and flunked it, and she went to Arkansas because that was the only bar exam she was able to pass. He talks about how in the 1970s she took all kinds of pro bono cases to defend women and children. In her memoirs, she cites one, which was a custody case, and that's it. In fact, in 1975, she represented a guy accused of raping a 14-year-old girl and got him off by claiming that the girl had fantasies of sex with an older man. And in 1980, she gave an interview about it and joked that she knew the guy was guilty, but got him off anyway. Then Bill discusses Hillary's legal career at the Rose Law Firm. He doesn't mention that she made partner when he got elected governor and was only hired after he got elected attorney general. And he makes as if it was a public service job. It wasn't. Her main job was to get state business, and she got tens and tens of millions of dollars of state business, and then hid her participation in the fees by taking an extra share of non-state business to compensate for the fees on state business that she brought in. Her other job was calling the state banking commissioner anytime one of her banks got into trouble to get them off. She was essentially a corporate lawyer. Bill speaks at length about how Hillary was a mother juggling career and family and taking Chelsea to soccer games and stuff. That's nonsense. Hillary was a mother, but Chelsea in the Arkansas governor's mansion had a staff of nannies and agents to drive her around and people to be with her, and Hillary didn't have to bother with any of that. All of that was paid for by the state. In fact, there's a funny story about when Chelsea was in school while he was president. She got sick, and they said, "We're going to call home." And she said, "Please, don't call my mother. She's too busy. Call my father." And it was really Bill, not Hillary, who was responsible for most of Chelsea's upbringing. He says that she became the warrior-in-chief over the family finances, and that's true. And the result is she learned how to steal. She accepted a $100,000 bribe from the poultry industry in return for Bill's going easy on regulating them, despite new standards. What happened was that Jim Blair, the poultry lobbyist, got a hold of her and gave her $1,000 to invest in the futures market and lined up 7 or 8 other investors. And their winnings were all deposited into Hillary's account. She made $100,000 in a year and she was out. And that was essentially a bribe. Her corporate work was related to doing a phony real estate deal for Jim McDougal and the Madison Bank to deceive the federal regulators by pretending someone else was buying the property when he really wasn't. She was called before a grand jury in '95 about that, but conveniently the billing records were lost, couldn't be found, and there wasn't proof that she worked on it. Bill talks about her work on the healthcare task force, but doesn't say that the reason it didn't pass was the task force was discredited because the meetings were all held in secret. A federal judge forced them open and then fined the task force several $100,000 because of their secrecy. He says that after the health care bill failed in '94, Hillary went to work on adopting each piece of it piecemeal, mainly health insurance for children. That's completely the opposite of the truth. The fact is that when that bill failed, I called Hillary and I suggested that she support a proposal by Republican Bob Dole that would cover children. And she said, you can't just cover one part of this. You have to change everything or change nothing. And then in 1997, when I repeated that advice to Bill Clinton, we worked together to pass the Children's Health Insurance Program. I found a lot of the money for that in the tobacco settlement that my friend Dick Scruggs was negotiating. Then Bill extols her record in the U.S. Senate. In fact, she did practically nothing. There were 7 or 8 bills that she introduced that passed, almost all of them symbolic. Rename a courthouse, congratulate a high school team on winning the championship. There was only one vaguely substantive bill, and that had a whole bunch of co-sponsors, of whom Hillary was just one. And then he goes to her record in the State Department and manages to tell that story without mentioning the word Benghazi, without mentioning her secret emails, without mentioning that he was getting in tens of millions, 220 million, in speaking fees in return for favorable actions by the State Department. None of that is mentioned in Bill's speech. And also totally lacking in the speech was anything about the war on terror. Terror is a word you don't hear at the Democratic Convention. And Hillary did almost nothing in terms of the war on terror. Bill says that Hillary passed tough sanctions on Iran for their nuclear program. The opposite is true. Every time a tough sanctions bill was introduced by Senators Menendez or Kirk, Hillary would send a Deputy Secretary, Wendy Sherman, to Capitol Hill to testify against it and to urge it not to pass, and it was over Hillary's objections that those sanctions were put into place. Maureen Dowd called the speech by Bill Clinton airbrushed. Well, it was a hell of a lot more than that. It was fiction. Thanks for watching.